Hi, everyone. Um, Thank you for joining in today. Welcome to today's LiveRay Live event. My name is Parneet, and I'm a part of the marketing team here at LiveRay. I will be your host for today. In this third and final webinar, Improving Customer Experience with Machine Learning and Analytics from our Demystifying Machine Learning series, you'll get to have an understanding on each individual's customer journey using analytics, how to drive personalization and content delivery through machine learning, understanding customer intent and delivering accordingly. The session will be hosted by our senior sales engineer, Chris Patefield. Chris is our senior sales engineer based out of the UK office. He has been involved in digital transformation projects for almost 2 decades now. He has a keen interest in blending the latest in machine learning services with JavaScript UI and LiveRay Java services. Just before we dive into the session, I would like to briefly introduce LiveRay to those of you who are new to us. At LiveRay, we make software that helps companies create digital experiences on the web, mobile, and connected devices. Our platform is open source, which makes it reliable, secure, and innovative with powerful integration capabilities. We have over 800 customers that trust us with projects from a broad range of B2B, B2C, and B2E use cases. Just want to remind everyone that all attendees are in listen mode today. If you have any questions during the presentation, please feel free to type them in the chat box on the right-hand side, and we'll have a short Q&A after the session where these questions can be answered. I will now hand over to Chris to begin the webinar.
Thank you very much, Paneet. So, as Paneet was saying, my name is Chris Patefield. I'm the Senior Sales Engineer for LiveRay UK, and I'm stuck in my living room at the moment due to the ongoing problems in the world. But let's not dwell on that too much. Let's try and learn something in the next 30 minutes. So, what we're doing really today is talking about improving customer experience with machine learning and analytics. And for those that have watched my sessions before, I've got many sessions on our past webinars, you'll know that I always start with a statement. So I would say that measuring the entire omnichannel customer journey, and that's not just a word that I'm throwing in there for fun. I mean the journey across your mobile apps, your websites, your B2C portals, your B2B portals, and then tracking each individual user right down to their individual events and properties is essential to improving customer service as we move forward. So that's a bold statement, but I think it's true. And what we'll do is we'll try and show this today in the webinar. So let's just talk about analytics for a second, because using analytics and using a DXP, they need to go hand in hand, okay? The two things are not separated at all. So what you want to do in a DXP is you want to deliver your customer experience, okay? So that could be a mobile app. It could be a B2C website. It could be B2B portal. But all the time you are delivering experiences to your customers. And then what you want to do is you want to go around the loop. So you need to come down here into measuring, okay? And then you need to measure what you've done through the delivery phase. And you need to then learn and make hypotheses from that data. And you need to optimize, and then you come back around again to build. And then you need to manage the process of the build by using workflow and sending the changes through, whatever system that might be. And then you need to deliver again. So it's a constant cycle. So just like software development now is continuous delivery, then digital experience is also continuous delivery as well. It's just a different style of delivery mechanism. So I would say that, and you probably agree, that continuous improvement requires the ability to be able to segment your customers properly. And that's actually quite a tricky thing to do. But it's absolutely key to being able to improve, because the whole thing about customer experience is you need to make sure that what you're delivering is applicable to the customer and relevant to the customer you're trying to deal with at that point in time. Okay, so I think we all agree on that, but does this involve machine learning? Well, segmentation of customers, potentially not. But you do need a solid base to be in place in your organization in order to go to the next level and use machine learning further on in the process. So what we need to do first is get the basics in place, which is going to allow you to use machine learning to improve customer service through analytics. So in a analytics system for a modern customer who is using a DXP and many other channels, okay, you need to have some basics in place. So the first thing is site-wide reports. So you can do this in Google Analytics. You can do this in many different analytics platforms, open source and not. It's a common feature. So you need to have things in here, as this video is showing, like, your engagement metrics, your pages, your acquisition sources, a global map of where your customers are coming from, etc. So this is nothing new, but it needs to be there because page level analytics are an important part of the process. But it would be nice if you can go a step further. So when we talk about digital asset management, and I did a webinar just recently on digital asset management and machine learning, digital asset management is often split up into different document types. So blogs, forms, web content, documents and media, etc. And customers, they interact with those resources differently depending on what type of asset it is. So if it's a document, for instance, they'll preview it, they will download it, they may comment on it. If it's a blog, well, they'll read it, and you want to know the amount of time someone has been reading that blog so that you can then use that in your segmentation rules. Web content, the same, but you also want to see that a piece of web content that's sharing a page with many other web content items, which one has been engaged with. And asset level monitoring becomes very, very important. And you kind of want this to happen without the need to tag that data. And a good DXP should allow you to be able to do that. Okay, so out of the box, asset level monitoring. And we also need to be able to custom tag assets. Okay, so if you've got an asset that is, something that's from your internal organization, which you have integrated to your DXP platform, and then you're showing that asset in the DXP platform, it would be unfair for you to expect that asset to be reported on automatically. So you do need to be able to add tags to your own custom assets. And this is exactly what's happening here in the little video that we're showing you on the right hand side. Okay, so they're using a custom template, and they are then essentially tagging a form, and then that asset then becomes available within the analytics suite. Another important thing that you need to be able to do is you need to be able to anonymously track users. So if a user comes to your platform and doesn't authenticate, it would be a good idea if you were to create a almost dummy account for that user and track them and have the ability to be able to store that in cookies as well. So when they come back, they're tracked as the same user. And then hopefully further on down the line, that user then authenticates and the anonymous data is then merged with the individual's new profile. So a way of tracking when people are anonymous and also when they convert from an anonymous user into an authenticated user. And a good analytics platform on a DXP should be able to do that. And then you need an individual profile for your users as well. Sometimes what we call single view of the customer. And you should be able to see their entire timeline of customer journey within this interface. You should be able to see all the pages that they go. You should be able to see their account information, okay, and get a full history of all their visits, as you see on screen in the video. And then you need a DXP analytics solution that's going to be able to do what we call advanced segmentation. So the ability to be able to have complex rules with ands and ors and even negative rules, right? So someone has not downloaded a particular document. And then also have behavioral based rules as well. So they've downloaded a document, they've used forms, they've navigated to a particular page, etc. And then align that to what you know about them from their account. And then it'd be nice as well if you could enrich the customer's profile with Salesforce integration or Microsoft CRM Dynamics, so that on the basis of the email address of the customer or an ID number, which is commonly shared between Salesforce and your user objects within your DXP, then that would be really powerful because you'd be able to pull in things about that user from a CRM perspective. So their spend potentially, or their stage in the buy-in funnel, right? So are they a lead? Are they, a converted customer? Are they a sales qualified lead? Who knows? But pulling that in would be potentially very important as well, and would give you a much better level of segmentation. And then we start going a step further. And this is my absolute favorite thing about the way that machine learning technology and analytics joins and becomes something that it becomes big data and then requires machine learning capability in order to make better customer service and customer experience decisions. So the functionality is called events and properties. And you'll find this in a number of different third-party analytic packages. And let's give you an example. So if you've got a mobile app and you've got a customer portal and a website all running, well, the website and the customer portal running on your DXP platform, and the mobile app might be consuming content from the DXP, but the mobile app is separate. Okay, it's its own domain. And you want to know what happens in the mobile app, what happens in the website, what happens in the customer portal. And you want to merge all that within a individual user timeline. Well, you do events and properties to do that. So from a mobile app or from like a single page application, or potentially from I'm wearing a Fitbit at the moment, maybe I do something in my Fitbit, who knows? Okay, what you can do is you can ascend an event, and the event might be, as an example, mobile app in a banking scenario. Someone transfers money from one account to another account. Okay, so that's an event. And then the amount that they transferred is a property. And then their email address is a property. The email address then shares back to an identifier that you have within your DXP analytics product. So you can essentially then track events on an omnichannel basis. And then that starts to bring up the user's timeline and their customer journey. So you'll see custom events and properties available within the same timeline. And a lot of different applications now give you this capability. Well, I'll say a lot. There's probably 2 market leaders. And then what you're going to do is you're going to call an API or a JavaScript framework, depending on what you're doing, in order to register those events and properties. So, as I said before, they're available. This technology is available in a number of different analytics products. But the problem is it's often poorly integrated to the CMS capability and the experience capability within a standard DXP or CMS product. It's to make decisions and create new experiences based on those events and properties is a difficult process. It's certainly not something that marketeers can do. It requires a lot of extension within your DXP in order to do that. And just as an example, I've not actually mentioned LifeRay at all so far. It's been on a generic basis. But our analytics tool is going to offer this functionality and have full integration to the DXP Experience Builder around about Q2, Q3 2020. And I'm sure other DXPs will follow suit, so don't need to worry about that. But it is like something that is so important now. I can't stress enough how important events and properties are to your analytics strategy moving forward. So we've talked about what you need to be doing today with analytics. And if you're not, then you need to look into it and then potentially move down and then complete your portfolio. So what are 3 common uses for machine learning from an analytics standpoint? So the first is interests. So we said that we were going to have loads and loads of events. We were going to have asset level analytics. We were going to have page level analytics. We were going to have connected Salesforce and Microsoft CRM data in there as well. That becomes a lot of data. it's getting on for big data levels of data. So you can imagine on a very, very busy B2C customer experience strategy, you can potentially have a huge number of analytics in the system. When you start doing events and properties, then your marketing department and yourselves and whoever's doing the marketing in the organization, you're going to be saying, right, I want a report on, how customers transact in the mobile app as opposed to on the web. Okay. And do customers go from the app to the web? And, that's fine. You're going to be doing that and you're going to be getting loads of insight. But the data can become massive. You could almost start collecting too much data. And then using natural language processing, so NLP, just to remind you what NLP is, it's the ability to be able to send text, maybe even a passage of text, to a machine learning service, which will then pull back the intent of that text. Okay, so not what does it mean because of the text, but really what is the customer trying to do by entering that text? What's the meaning of it? And we can do that, and we can take all the data that you've collected and we can use NLP to create what are called interests. So interests might be, okay, so a user goes to a page and they scroll down to the bottom of the page, and each time they're doing this, we're getting events, we're getting properties. And they spend a decent amount of time reading one of the articles that's on the page. Then that becomes an interest for that user, not the page, not the page title, okay, not even the title of the article, but a condensed interest based on what that user has done. And then we store that against the user, and we store that against the site, and we store that against the segments of your customers. The benefit of this is that you can have essentially trending interests, which will then supplement your ability to be able to essentially segment. Because many different actions or many different events might create one interest. So it's a way of grouping those events together. And then we've got engagement. So engagement kind of sounds simple, right? So I'm Chris, I go to my banking website and look at my account twice today. I did it once yesterday. Therefore, my engagement is what, 200%. But it's not as simple as that, because engagement needs to combine many, many different factors. So the depth that you scroll, the amount of time that you spend on an asset, what you click on, what you hover on, what exactly you do with the different assets on the platform. And then you need to compare it against previous time ranges. You need to compare it against previous users, because maybe all your customers are not engaged. Right? So therefore, you need to compare users against segments in order to work out engagement. So what seemed like a simple calculation now becomes a job for machine learning. And it's something that we do in Liferay, and it's something that you probably will find in other like-minded analytics systems available from a variety of different DXP vendors and vendors of analytics alone. And then we've got the ability to be able to group. So creating relationships in assets based on the customer journey that you didn't even know existed. Okay, and then potentially categorizing those and then using them still more. And then also it becomes very important when we want to look at commerce. So the ability to be able to create product groupings where product groupings did not exist, or you didn't know they should exist. So you can create grouped products. And again, it's only this huge amount of big data, events, properties, assets, individuals, segments that is going to allow you to do that. And it will be built in to many analytics products out there in the market, and you should be using it. But you need to make sure that your DXP is capable of integrating and getting those relationships from your analytics platform. So why were events and properties so important again? Because granularity in that data, having unstructured data, okay, so you may have relationships within the data that you're sending with your events and properties. It tends to be maybe an email address is the identifier or an ID number, okay? But apart from that, the rest of the properties, the events themselves, are going to be completely unrelated. So they have no structure. And if you look at our previous webinars in this series, you'll know that unstructured data and structured data is very important to the machine learning process. And my key point really here is that granularity is what opens up the most powerful capability within machine learning analytics today. So we call this, or I call this, for want of a better word, next best action 2.0. So next best action has been around for a while. It used to work on a decision tree basis. So you would have, very powerful automation tools with decision trees, which were capable of essentially taking an input, running it through a decision tree at super quick speeds, and you'd get a decision at the end, and that would be your next best action. But it was all based on programming. It was based on having a tool where you could design the decision trees. And it didn't grow with your business, and it didn't tell you what you don't know. But this is where Next Best Action 2.0 comes in, because we can use machine learning to look at all our customers and put it through super fast algorithms and have all the past events, and on the diagram, touch points, events, touch points, kind of the same thing, and what the next touch point should be. And then we need to have a goal. Okay, so the goal might be, I want someone to buy something. I want someone for a trading account, to put money into their trading account. So we know what the goal is, okay? So that way we've got the ability to use what's called supervised machine learning, where you know what the goal is and you know what the factors are, so then you can then reach probability. So what we can do, we look at the past, what they've done. We can analyze what all their potential next actions might be, and then the probability that their next action will lead to them transacting or to them depositing money in an account. And this is what we mean by next best action 2.0. So we can actually tell the system what the next best thing to do is. And we do that with machine learning. So from a marketing perspective, we can understand which channel might best result in the customer transacting. Again, from a marketing perspective, we will know what potentially the next best bit of content is, or the next best product display is, in order to get that user to transact based on their past history, based on other customers in the system, and with a higher weight to other segments of which that customer is a member. And we can take all that into account. And then it gets super powerful when we go from a developer standpoint. And this is kind of my next thing. It's kind of machine learning aware applications, because applications ask you to do all sorts of things, right? Applications allow you to collect data in a form, maybe. They allow you to transact, but they tend to do it in a very linear fashion. But using this system of next best action, potentially we can scope applications directly to a customer profile and get the next best interface and deliver that within our applications. That becomes super powerful. We can differentiate between customers that are very visual, between customers that like to see complex data sources, or customers that want to have more information in order to get them to transact. And at the end of the day, all this allows you to build machine learning powered applications focused on end goals of customers transacting and with a mind towards the customer experience. Because some customers just want to transact, right? That's what they want to do. That's what's a good customer experience for them. Whereas other customers, they're browsers, right? They want to look around, they want to be educated. So we can do that with this capability. And then you can take it a step back. So you can go, look, Chris, actually, this sounds all well and good, but it sounds a bit complex, and it's not where I want to go. So take baby steps, that's fine. So you can do content and product recommendations, and you can use your analytics system with all the events and properties and all this rich data we've been talking about as your data model for using machine learning recommendations and product recommendations. And this becomes really powerful because in a good analytics system, you could potentially export that data and then use it with other algorithms. So you could use potentially Amazon's own recommendation system that they use to recommend products and recommend videos when you're watching Amazon Prime, as most of us are doing now. Bear in mind that we're all working from home. And it would be really nice if your DXP system had the capability to do that for you. And this is kind of really where I want to end. And it's the way I've been ending the last 3 webinars within this series. So there are so many out of the box, available, commodity, machine learning systems, APIs, capability out there on the market. So we said Google Cloud, okay? Vision API, for instance, in Google Cloud. We talk about the Amazon recommendation service. If you want a chatbot, IBM Watson, one of the best, systems out there for doing natural language processing. Microsoft Cognitive Services, amazing at doing tagging functionality. All the stuff that we've talked about in the previous webinars. But I'm going to finish on a point. So once again, only a DXP built from the ground up to be extendable has the capability to allow marketers to get a lot of what they need out of the box. So marketers can get value today. But the true benefit is when you can link your development team with your marketers, get them working on a common set of data, and have a DXP that's going to give the developers the ability to be able to push that data at key points on key events when they need to, right? And for that not to be an absolute pain, so you need out of the box tools that are going to allow developers to do that, which then gives your marketing team all the granular events and properties that they need in order to make customer experience decisions at speed and scale. And that's what I think that LifeRay can do as a DXP. And it's what you need to be looking at when you're making your decisions on buying analytics tools and buying CMS and buying DXPs and you know, deciding on which mobile app technology you're going to use. That tooling, that extension capability is massively important. It's almost as important as the machine learning that you potentially want to use. It's almost as important as the analytics platform you decide to use. Okay. To sum up, what you want to do is get your events and properties working, get that data out there, collect as much data as humanly possible, and then unlock potential with machine learning. Questions?
Thanks, Chris, for taking us through this insightful presentation. I think we all would have learned a lot today. I have a few questions here. I will start with this one. What, in your opinion, are key metrics to track each individual customer's digital journey?
It's a good question. So firstly, I'm going to say, you know, how long's a piece of string? However, that's not a very helpful answer. So what I'm going to say is, firstly, what you need is you need a identifier for the customer. Now, email address tends to be a good identifier that you can use to link many different third-party data sources. And then the events and properties that you want to start tracking become really, it's something that you need to decide for yourselves. You almost want as much as possible, but not too much that it's silly, right? So you don't want to kind of, you know, hey, I've got an event, someone hovered over a link, right? That's maybe too much. But you want to make them specific to things that are important within your organization. So remember I said about banking, you know, depositing funds, right? Clearly, that's an important event and something you should track, okay? But equally, so is someone using like a banking single page application and they click a button saying show other type of accounts, right? Because that might indicate that the customer is interested in opening further accounts and transacting more with the business. So I would say, to sum up, you know, get your user object sorted first, understand key identifiers that exist in multiple systems, and then from there decide which events are important to your business, and those are the ones that you're going to track. Okay, it can be almost very difficult if you track too much, but you do need to track a lot. So I'm saying I'm sitting on the fence, Penny, if that makes sense.
Thanks, Chris. In interest of time, I'll just take one more question. And all the other questions, I think we'll be able to answer through email. So if you guys have any other questions besides this, we'll be happy to answer them on email. Realistically, how many people do you work with that use the capabilities of analytics and behavioral segmentation? Do you have any good examples?
Yeah, do you know what? Since we started offering this functionality with LifeRay DXP, it's amazing the number of customers that are interested. I'll give you an example. So there is a company that we work with. They're a big manufacturer of motor vehicles, and they have a B2B portal, okay, or a B2B customer experience tool where dealers log in and they get all their information and they log warranty claims, and they use a load of different tools which are delivered in LifeRay DXP. And so firstly, right, they just want to get metrics on how customers use this platform so they can understand the value to the business. But then they have dealers, and then dealers have different profiles, right? So you get your big dealers, like, you know, I don't know, Guy Salmon out there, or, you know, JC Lookers, and they will interact with the system one way, but then their smaller dealers interact another way. And then you have other dealers that just generally in the business, they're a real pain. And then they start tracking those dealers on an individual level. And then they start noticing that the dealer that's a pain, they tend to not download and view documents. Okay, so what we can start doing is using segmentation in order to understand when people don't do things, right? So they don't download a specific document. Then I'll create an experience in DXP which makes sure that that dealer, next time they log in, and other dealers like them, because they're segmented, you can make sure that that document goes right in front of them everywhere they go, right? It's put so much in the forefront that they almost give up. I am going to download this document and I am going to view it, okay? And then that educates that dealer better, and therefore that dealer then performs better. And so we're seeing that in car dealers. We're seeing it very much in B2B telco as well. Very, very prevalent. We do a lot of work in LifeRay with telcos, and we've got one particular telco at the moment where it's so key to them. And that again is a single page application. So it's React applications that they've built that live inside LifeRay DXP, and they want to do events and they want to do properties because they want to know how different segments of customers use the custom functionality that they've built. And then this becomes all available with the technology I've talked about today.
Okay, thank you. Very interesting use cases. I think we'll have to, we're done for today. We're going over time now. So if you guys have any other questions, please feel free to drop us an email on marketing-uk@liferay.com, and we'll be happy to answer those for you. Thank you all for joining us today and for the past few weeks who've been joining us every week. I hope you found our machine learning series valuable. All the webinars have been recorded and we will be making them available through our website and our emails. And thanks again for joining us. Take care and be safe.